saying to you, like, were you building that community just to sell your book?
The way that happened was, at the time when Sarah came out, there was very few people put emails in their back of the book. It wasn't done, okay? And JT was one of the first. And my feeling in the punk world, you had access. I had everyone's number. I mean, everyone's, right? And it wasn't a big deal. I called up, you name it, you know? It was, and that was, I wouldn't expect it any different, you know? So, for me, when I would write to an author, it was very difficult to write to an author, right? It's easier to write to a soap star. You had to figure out who the publisher was, and blah, 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 blah. And I wanted to tear down the wall and have access. So it's like, it's just a fucking argument. But you know, there's this quote, let's see if I can find it, that, from J.D. Salinger, where he says, I guess I can't find it. But he said something to the effect is that you've read a good book, or you know you've read a good book when you feel like you can call up the there's a lot of good notes in here. I should just, you know. Anyway, that you feel like you can, you have an intimacy with the author, and you can just call them up, and you feel like they're your friend. Two things. One, I didn't want to be friends with myself. So I needed to create the writer that I wanted to call up. You know, so I didn't want this stuff to come from me. It was like, ew. So I needed that, like, you know, the stacking dolls and the stacking dolls. I needed to trick myself into allowing it to come out. If it had to come out for me. When I was in college, I won scholarships. I was in the group home. And it's funny, I went to the New School for Social Research. They told me now that they would never let me in that school. I was let in without SATs because I couldn't take SATs. My education was incomplete. I was doing home instruction. I read Scarlet Letter in comic book form. And, but I bojangles to get in there, and I wrote a good essay, and they let me in. But the teacher, I had this teacher, and she said, girls have to write as girls, boys as boys. And I said, please, I can't do that. I can't. And she's like, no. She didn't have faith that we were mature enough to try on the voice of the other. I mean, that's a big thing. And you're not allowed in our culture to try on any voice of others.